Hello and good morning from New York. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Solutions for Youth Employment Innovation Exchange and Partner Summit 2023. My name is Shakuntala Santharan, Shaks for short. I'm delighted to be moderating this session, which brings together private sector industry leaders and policymakers to delve into how to leverage generative artificial intelligence to skill and create jobs for young people. In case you're new to this, there are different types of AI technology. For example, self-driving cars are very different from something like ChatGPT or Bard. Those are both examples of generative AI that we're focusing on during this summit. So generative AI refers to models or algorithms that are trained on, that are fed vast amounts of data. They learn patterns from this data and then can generate new content like video, audio, or text, for example. And generative AI applications are already transforming work and jobs. We have brilliant speakers for you today. If you have questions for them, please send them to us via the Slido tool on the right of your screen. And now, who better to help us get started than the world's first minister of AI. Our keynote speaker is His Excellency Omar Sultan Al Olama, Minister of Artificial Intelligence, Digital Economy and Remote Work Applications for the United Arab Emirates. He's also Director General of the Prime Minister's Office. In 2017, Minister Al Olama became the world's first Minister of Artificial Intelligence. He's one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in AI in 2023. Minister Al Olama, thank you very much indeed for joining us from Dubai. Welcome. It's over to you.
Thank you, Shaks, and it's an absolute pleasure and privilege being with all of you here today. It is indeed very exciting because as we see the world transform at the advent of generative artificial intelligence, which is taking the world by storm, both positively and for governments, maybe creating a sort of crisis to regulate this technology. It is apparent that this future that is going to be an AI-driven future is going to be created by the youth of today. The youth of today have the ability to leverage these tools to create solutions, to create products, and to create as well the technologies that are going to shape the coming years. I think when we talk about artificial intelligence and when we talk about generative AI specifically, we see a lot of tools with regards to this technology being able to create content, for it to be able to create as well the ability to improve productivity. But in the UAE, we try to push for this technology being used to improve the quality of life of people everywhere. And I think that this is quite apparent that artificial intelligence is going to be able to create the solutions of tomorrow. It's going to improve people's lives and things like education and healthcare. And it's also going to create the coming unicorns that are going to reshape the global economic footprint from around the world. In the UAE, we empower youth using artificial intelligence. So what we've done so far is trained over 180,000 people on what artificial intelligence is. We've spoken to youth all around the country about the ethics of artificial intelligence and also what it means to be responsible in a generative AI age. And finally, we've built bridges to many countries around the world to ensure that the youth, not just in the UAE, but the youth everywhere, is able to see this technology as it truly is, not a negative or a positive technology. It is a tool that is going to be shaping the future based on the youth that grasp it and utilize it in the coming years. I do hope that through this panel and through many other endeavors, we are going to be able to contribute positively to that future.
Thank you, Minister Al Olama, for sharing with us some of what the UAE is doing to be prepared for the advent of AI and for what you're doing, a little bit of what you're doing to attract and nurture talent, right, for future AI-enabled jobs. Thank you for setting the stage for our panel conversation. To help us now further explore the possibilities of generative AI for youth employment, our expert panel includes Eric Arnold, Chief Technology Officer of Microsoft Philanthropies, joining us from Redmond, Washington, here in the US. Alina Vandavier is Chief of Assessment at educational technology company Duolingo. She joins us from Boston. Claire Zhao is Vice President of venture capital firm GSV Ventures. She joins us from San Francisco. And Dr. Hossam Osman is Vice President of Egypt's Information Technology Industry Development Agency. He joins us from Greater Cairo in Egypt. And Shrestha Gupta is Vice President of IT and Digital at India's National Skill Development Corporation, NSDC. She's also Director and Chief Technology Officer of NSDC International. She joins us from New Delhi in India. Thank you all very much for being here with us today. Eric, if we could start with you, please. So mention AI and work, and we often hear concerns that it will take away jobs, especially for young people in entry-level jobs. Also concerns about limited safeguards and ethical concerns like the potential for bias and discrimination. But can generative AI also lead to employment opportunities for youth?
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to be here today. And yeah, I think we are right in the middle of the hype cycle where AI has been around for over a decade and really in the past has been the purview of very well-funded programs, lots of data scientists working with big data problems. And what we've seen since the advent of generative AI is that now this has suddenly appeared in all of our workplaces, in productivity tools and communication and collaboration tools. It is really changing the way we work and requires a whole new set of skills. And I think we are, as a society, as a global society, really adjusting to this new paradigm. It is such early days. I was looking at the hype cycle and really where we were and trying to draw some historical parallels and found an article from the 1862 Lancet that was discussing the health impacts of traveling by steam engine, with the thinking that going 40 kilometers an hour would cause paralytic seizures, brain shrinkage, and the organs detaching from the body because of the great speeds. So, we really need to worry wisely about what the fears are around AI. I think it is imperative that companies like Microsoft and other private sector companies that are investing in this technology work together with governments to ensure that there are the safeguards in place necessary to ensure the fair application of this, that AI is reliable and safe, that the right privacy and security controls are in place, that it's inclusive of all societies, that the way the models are trained is transparent, and that everyone is held accountable for how this technology is put into place. I think it is appropriate also to hope appropriately about what AI can bring. I think on either end of the extreme, we need to be very cautious and understanding of what the practical applications of AI is today based on where the technology is today. It will be disruptive. It will change the way that people work, and it will require that workplaces and individuals, and particularly the young population, really understand what the new paradigm of working is and embrace it and learn the skills required in the new digital economy.
We're going to be looking at skilling and also collaboration between the governments and the private sector. So what role do you think, Eric, can organizations like Microsoft Philanthropies play in helping make this happen, in ensuring that AI is used for good where everyone can benefit, particularly in the context of youth employment?
Yeah, and it starts not just with corporate philanthropies, but I think with corporations themselves. And increasingly in a world where governments can't get this done alone and where the corporations are investing heavily in this technology, we need to work together to ensure that we have the right policies that safeguard this technology. That said, having the ability for corporate philanthropies like Microsoft Philanthropies to lean in and really work with the teams that are creating these models and ensure these models are appropriate for use in the global south, that they are inclusive of different cultures and different ways to train with different kinds of information and make it appropriate for the specific use cases where they're being applied. I think from a philanthropy's perspective, one other area that is critical for us is how we don't just invest in the technology as private sector. We have to invest in the skilling as well. And what can we make available to help the next generation really have the skills that they need to get jobs using AI in the new digital economy. And so we've invested quite heavily in a Skills for Job program that includes learning pathways for AI skills, not just the hard technical skills that you need as a young person today, but also some of the soft skills and the way you need to think and interact with prompts and with a generative AI model. And so it is an area of heavy emphasis for us that we're not just investing in the technology, but also investing in all of the skills that this next generation needs.
Okay, we're going to get more details about what Microsoft Philanthropies is doing in this space later in our conversation. So generative AI has tremendous potential to empower workers, but people need to learn how to use the technology properly, as Eric was saying. Now, generative AI can also be used to help educate, to deliver learning. Alina, you've been in education technology, an education technology professional for over 20 years. How is generative AI shaping education from skills and curricula to how education is delivered? What opportunities do you see with generative AI to skill young people in particular?
Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and share some of our work and our passion with all of you. So we do definitely believe that technology has the potential of helping young people have access to quality education. So this is our strong social mission at Duolingo. Our CEO, Luis Fonan, has been talking about the importance of elevating and providing free access to students all over the world to language, to math, and giving the opportunities for learning languages in general. We also have a high-stakes test called the Duolingo English test that, because of all of these technologies, is a much more affordable and much shorter test that test takers can take from any time, anywhere, wherever they are in the world. So this wouldn't be possible without these technologies. So the way we use this technology to help is in multiple ways. One way, in the Learning app, we use this technology to personalize the learning experience. We select the next questions and the next curriculum elements based on the level at which the person is, based on the interest of the person. So we build a fully personalized trajectory for learning experience. In the Duolingo English test where I work, we use generative AI to create items, to create content for the test. And we developed scripts for manipulating the prompt for generative AI so that our content is representative of people from all over the world. What I mean by that is, with these technologies, we can ensure that the final testing experience is much more appropriate from a cultural perspective than it would have been with only human developers for this purpose. So having these possibilities of using Gen AI alongside with automation and adaptive technologies creates a very different experience, both from the learning perspective and from the teaching perspective. Now, what I think people will need to consider teaching in learning in the future is also the other types of skills. For example, critical thinking skills. You know, we are now, and we will be even more so, in a world where we need to be able to differentiate between fake information and real information. So we need to develop skills that help the next generation function properly in this universe. So I've been working personally with students and advising on their dissertation on how we can measure skills like critical thinking, collaboration, so the humanity type of skills that we believe are still necessary going forward in this new world. So this would be our approaches to teaching, learning, and supporting the next generation using this technology. So personalization in any type of curriculum, creating content automatically and creating graded models so that the whole experience is also affordable, such as a test, or free, as it is the case in the Learning app, and considering teaching other skills that would help the new generation navigate better the challenges of dealing with artificial intelligence.
Thank you for answering what my next question was going to be, which is whether young people need to learn just how to use the AI tools or more skills, like you said, critical thinking. We're going to find out a bit more about what Duolingo is doing a little later in our conversation. So investment, we know, helps ensure more equitable access. Claire, your company, GSV Ventures, has been investing in education technology for years. How do you decide what generative AI startups to invest in? Do you pick ones that deliver results?
Definitely. So as a fund investing in education technology across what we like to call pre-K to gray, early childhood, K-12, higher ed, workforce, adult consumer learning, we've always placed a heavy value on not only return on investment, but also return on education. And I think we uphold that exact same mindset going into investing in AI companies. I think first and foremost, it's important to remind anyone who's building with technology that AI or any other technology is not necessarily a silver bullet that will magically solve all problems. In fact, it's more of any sort of technology actually amplifies an existing strong product that delivers on outcomes and serves real value to teachers, learners, workers. I think a really important thing to look at is AI is also just tacking on AI is also not going to make your product better, saying that it's automatically personalized. There's a lot of work that goes into actually driving personalized and effectual learning. So I think we look out for those things. I also think when we look at investments in this space, we ultimately boil it down to is what you're building a vitamin or a painkiller? Is this thing that you've created a nice to have that, you know, and we can play around with, or is this something that is truly changing someone's lives, making teachers more productive, making districts save money, universities allow universities to include more students. And I think just another piece on just investing in this space, I think what's really exciting and you know, just a massive call to action to anyone who is building technologies in this space is just the fact that this is, you know, one of the most important generational discoveries and paradigm shifts of our lifetime, you know, on par with the rise of personal computing and the internet. And I just think that there's actually massive new opportunity for people to create things. So rather than thinking about ways to retrofit AI into existing ways we thought about our education system and how we deliver learning, I want to kind of point to like this idea that there is innovator's dilemma. And when you ask Henry Ford, you know, the manufacturer of Ford vehicles, he said that if I had asked my customers what they wanted, they would have asked for a faster horse. And so I think it's important to think about what completely new ideas have been untapped that AI can now for the first time help amplify and also serve these, you know, underserved verticals, people, and workflows.
I love that analogy you use and the example of Henry Ford and the horse. So whether you're creating a vitamin or a pain killer. Thank you for that perspective. So generative AI looks set to be used increasingly to help deliver learning. Let's focus now on how to prepare youth to work in an AI-enabled environment. It's no surprise that AI skills are the third highest priority for private sector companies' training strategies, according to the World Economic Forum. Some national governments are also starting to build strategies to tap the potential of generative AI and limit potential risk, particularly when it comes to shaping the labor force of the future. We heard what the UAE is doing. Egypt, meanwhile, adopted its national AI strategy in 2021, and human capacity building is one of its pillars. Hossam, please tell us what Egypt is doing to prepare your youth for the jobs of tomorrow.
Great pleasure joining this panel, and many thanks, Chuck, for having me. Like the Egyptian Charter for Responsible AI emphasizes AI as human assistance rather than human replacement. And the main objective is really how to enhance work productivity and quality through skilling, reskilling, and upskilling. And of course, because we are in Egypt, so as you may expect, we adopt a pyramid-shaped portfolio of capacity building initiatives. So we have at the foundation kind of AI for everyone awareness. And then we go to like school students, equipping students with fundamental AI and IT tools. And of course, at the top layer, we have outstanding university graduates where we really kind of build their capacity through professional masters in collaboration with top universities worldwide. But the key component is the middle layer, where we have a program that we call Egypt Future Work is Digital, or Egypt Forward, or Egypt FWD. And the program, the main focus of the program is to build capacity of university students and university graduates on like generative AI, fundamental AI, and of course, the rest of emerging technology. The focus is employment through the gig economy, talking about freelancing and remote work. You know, of course, that Egypt has its own strategy to position itself as outsourcing and offshoring destination. So like teaching and building capacity of youngsters on how to really use IT and AI, and with special focus on generative AI for remote work and for freelancing business is a key component. We train about over 100K like individuals per year. And the focus that we do, not just training them, but even matchmaking them with popular platform for work opportunities, whether for freelancing work or even for remote work with customers overseas. Now what we are doing, we are planning somehow new addition to the traditional round by adding new AI job profiles as AI testing, AI prompt engineering, and so on, so that we give them like more alternatives and create more jobs to the freelancing population that we currently have in Egypt.
So you said that Egypt's approach is human assistance versus human replacement as far as AI goes. So how is Egypt planning to minimize the potential risks of AI, like job losses, especially for young people in entry-level, more routinized jobs?
Yeah, the point is really giving them the skills of how to use AI to enhance what they are already doing. So how to use AI in producing work with better quality and more productivity. Like we have a series of maybe a couple of events weekly addressing university graduates about if you are in any sector, in the agriculture sector, in the like health sector, tourism sector, how generative AI can give you a hand in making your work look much professional, much better, and with less rework and less overhead. This is a key component that we do. We invite like experts to talk about their own expertise to youngsters and to give them practitioner point of view so that they really understand how to use the tool to make the work look more professional and with less bugs, we can say. So that's how they really start seeing AI as an assistance rather than as a replacement to their career choice.
Thank you, Hossam. Now, India, too, aims to create an AI-ready workforce for the future. Shrestha, please tell us about India's initiatives for your youth.
Thanks for having me here, Shaks. Well, in India, we are working towards bringing two of the most aspirational initiatives together, Skill India and Digital India together. So we're working towards the intersection of both of these initiatives, and we're building Skill India Digital. Now, Skill India Digital, which we are building, is built on two foundations, which is trust and discovery, which brings the skilling and the employment opportunities together. While we are building Skill India Digital, it is also working towards how do we bridge the gaps, which is largely seen towards the employment side, and how do we bring those upskilling and reskilling opportunities. In fact, the skilling opportunities which can be added to an individual and which can further be led to an opportunity or a better career opportunities for an individual. While we're talking about the AI here specifically, we are using AI significantly to build this platform, wherein starting with that how recommendations for the right career choices can be given to an individual. If somebody is looking for skilling opportunities or upskilling opportunities, how the persona-based learnings or the recommendations for the right career paths or the career transitions for the opportunities can be brought in together for an individual. Using AI and using the components which is already available and which is built and the use cases available, we are using those into the platform Skill India Digital, such as how do we use the intent-based search? How do we do a multilingual enablement for a scale like in India, that every individual can access the opportunities in the language which they want to have it utilized. So how do we bring the inclusion, the transparency, all together at the same time, so that everybody at the scale can access the opportunities at one platform? So the idea is to bring the upskilling and the learning opportunities at one place, and also the opportunities with respect to the on-job trainings, employment, industry connects at one place, so that the entire career can be built at same platform. While we're working towards solving this problem, and on the other side, the digital learning is also an essential piece, which we are kind of stitching it together in this platform. AI learnings are absolutely important, and we're keeping a focus on how do we bring the right AI skills wherein people can understand, make effective utilization of those learning, and they can build their own solutions and the tools on top of it. So while we are democratizing the learning, we're also solving a problem of having an open AI or open development space wherein people or the developers can come and they can innovate and they can develop their solutions on top of the applications which we are developing. The assessments, the learnings while we are doing, we're also building that how do we do from the transparency and the governance perspective, how do we do the AI-based proctored assessments, proctored monitoring, so that we ensure that everything with respect to the governance falls right in place. So there are a lot of use cases with respect to AI we are using. For just taking a small example, that if somebody wants to use an image as an example, that taking an example of somebody who's a chef wearing a chef cap, and take a picture of it and just take click a picture and search in the platform, that all the relevant courses and opportunity with respect to the chef shall be made available, so that individual can make choices. So learning becomes easier. The adoption and the accessibility of the services becomes easier basis the image-based searches or the language-based searches, intent-based searches, all that becomes very easy and adaptable for somebody to access it on the platform. So yeah, we're kind of bringing a lot at a same place while that is happening, and the trust is also being solved with respect to bringing right authentications and verifications at one place. In India, we have biometric authentications and identifiers we have when we solve the trust problem for the individual as an identity. And when we have a right skill set and upskilled or the skilled individuals at one place solving the trust problem, the discovery of those skilled individuals at the industry side solves the problem at the employment gaps. So putting this entire dimension at one place solves a lot of problem, and a lot is happening using the technology, and the support of AI is being used along.
Can you tell us, Shrestha, what India is doing to minimize the potential risks of AI to the labor market? A lot of people are really concerned about potential job losses.
Well, I think as Eric mentioned, that we are going through a hype cycle of AI, and while to my personal beliefs is that AI is bringing a lot of newer opportunities. when the same thought process was actually there when the computer took over the manual jobs, that it will significantly take the jobs over, but it created more opportunities and advancement of the way we are operating in the current system. I think AI is bringing a lot of more intelligence to the way we have been operating so far. It definitely cut down a lot of efforts the way we have been controlling and the standard operating procedures. It does create a newer and the better opportunity instead of taking the jobs off. So I think we do understand that our technologies are right now being going through a transformation wherein the utilization of AI is being incorporated in best of the possible ways, using LLMs, more advanced searches, better results. It has created a more of opportunities, and I believe that AI will indeed bring a better and a newer opportunities, and definitely have an upgraded version of the way we are operating in today's life.
Thank you, Shashta. So that's how India and Egypt are preparing for and investing in the future. Microsoft, Eric, also believes in investing in the future, doesn't it? You started to tell us about some of the initiatives that Microsoft Philanthropies is engaged in. Please tell us more. How is your organization working to promote generative AI education and innovation among youth?
It's interesting hearing this conversation and how we're all gravitating around some common themes from our different perspectives on the impact of AI and the opportunity it affords, but also our responsibility to provide the right skills for people to be able to participate. You know, some of the early research that we're doing, and we have a work trend index that we publish regularly where we're looking at how AI is impacting the workforce. You know, we're seeing, you know, as you say, you know, certainly people are worried about how it's going to shift jobs or create job loss. More people are saying that it's going to create employee productivity and efficiencies in the workplace. And I think it's so early in this stage that what we're really focusing on from where we see our investments going as a private sector corporation is AI is not going to hit all different roles and all different jobs equally. Some roles are going to be much more disrupted than others. Many of the panelists here today have been talking around education, and I think teachers and educators are going to see both the opportunities and the impacts of AI very early in the use of these generative technologies. One of the things that we really focus on, so I would say maybe 4 main areas from Microsoft's perspective. First of all, we're a private sector corporation, and we have to work with communities, with nonprofits, with governments to help people at risk of being excluded from the digital economy have a chance to participate, to gain the foundational role-based technical skills so that they can gain jobs and livelihoods wherever they are. And so we invest in opportunities around creating communities around that. We invest in creating learning pathways and certifications that anyone can get and take for free across a number of digital skills that are role-based, depending on specific roles that are emerging in this new digital marketplace and the AI marketplace. We're connecting learners to jobs through our partnerships that we have in many different countries, and how once you have these skills and have these certifications, how can we partner and invest as a private sector corporation to make those connections so you don't just get the certification, but now you can use it as you're taking your first steps in the workplace. And we're doing research around, you know, what are the most in-demand jobs and roles? How is work changing? What are the jobs to be done that involve AI? Again, you know, trying to get away from the hype cycle and really focusing on the practical use cases and where we can invest on the skilling side of the practical use cases, but then also in the technology itself. And we create, you know, purpose-built, configured technology, you know, both from a large language model perspective and how we're training those models to be more inclusive in the global economy, how we create opportunities for hackathons for young people to participate and create ideas and ideate and create innovations using this technology. And we create opportunities with our partners where we invest with nonprofits and with governments on the policy side and on globally scaled programs, like our partnership with UNICEF with Learning Passport, where we're providing a digital learning platform for millions of kids in now over 30 countries around the world.
Now, earlier you mentioned the importance of working with governments. How closely is Microsoft Philanthropies working with governments?
It's crucial, and increasingly, our focus, I think, in the global north is around policies, and our focus on the global south is how can we appropriately partner to introduce these skilling programs and this technology in areas where it's traditionally been underserved. And so I think, we can't do this alone, nor is the private sector the leader in this equation. It's really, the government or the nonprofit or the IGL. Like it really takes all of us working together to be able to implement this. And I believe there's a real role for the private sector to engage deeply and for the long term together with governments and how the policies will be shaped and how the technology will be implemented.
So we've been here. Okay, so that's clearly very important. We're going to be looking more at the importance of this collaboration. Now, Alina, your company, Duolingo, is an example of how to use AI to skill people. You were telling us how Duolingo is using generative AI to teach language. Please tell us more. Is AI playing a bigger and bigger part in your products? Are you rethinking your products perhaps to make it more accessible, especially for youth who don't have access to good schools and good education resources? Oh, we can't hear you, Alina. You're muted.
Here I am. Thank you. Yes, indeed, we are continuously thinking on how we can increase access. So as part, both for learning and the learning app and also for assessment. So in 2021, our CEO, Luis Fonan, responded to the call to action from our Vice President, Kamala Harris, that she put out for private sector to invest in the Northern Triangle, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. So since then, we've been actively providing the Duolingo English Test Access Program, where we have free waivers for people who need more financial support. We also have been working with organizations that support the refugees, and we try to support them in multiple ways. On one side, we support them through the studying and learning of languages, and on the other side is with free waivers for the Duolingo English test. I need to share an anecdote. We learned that based on our analytics that the language that is mostly studied in Sweden is actually Swedish. Because the refugees are learning Swedish and they desire to integrate themselves in the society. So we are helping refugees get a better life through providing these free resources for learning different languages, but we also provide them with the DET Access Program. So we have the DET Access Program for the Northern Triangle, but also more generally for people all over the world. With respect to whether we change the way we do things, yes and no. So we are a tech company. So actually, even on the test, on the Duolingo English test, I introduced the AI tools in 2021. So well before it was so cool to use Gen AI for generating content. And our first complex item type was launched in March 2022, and we used Gen AI for all parts of creating this complex item type for interactive reading at scale. So we created thousands and thousands of items. So yes and no. On one side, as a company, we've been always focus on the question on how can we do better to create access and opportunities for education, and how can we use technology. That's our strength. And on the other hand, yes, we've been one of the few companies, 4 companies, I believe, that were the partners of OpenAI in the first few months before the launch of GPT-4. So yes, this became an extremely important focus for us. I also want to point out, and in response also to Eric's point, because we use this technology profoundly throughout our processes. We believe it's our professional responsibility to provide the community with responsible AI guidelines. We are probably the first assessment program to create such a set of guidelines, and we openly provided them on our website. We also were invited to actually present them at the World Economic Forum because we were among the first in education to provide that. So I would also invite everyone, if there is an interest in responsible AI guidelines for assessment, to check them out.
And Alina, how closely is Duolingo working with governments? I believe you work with the White House.
Yeah, so this is the Vice President Kamala Harris initiative, the call to action for private sector to invest in the Northern Triangle. And I've been also helping or collaborating with the Office of Educational Technologies for preparing their report that was published this summer on the AI and the future of teaching and learning. Similarly, I was one of the panelists for a similar entity in the Department of Education in the UK. So they interviewed me about education and AI and the impact on teaching and learning. So we try to work closely with governments and help facilitate learning opportunities and access to education.
Thank you, Alina. Hossam, what role does the Egyptian government see for the private sector to achieve your ambitions to leverage AI to skill young people and create jobs?
Yeah, like for sure, we see a private sector as a key partner. So let me give you an example, like 50% of the board of directors of ITIDA, the governmental IT industry development agency where I work, 50% comes from the private sector. So they co-make decisions and they develop strategies with us. And actually an anchor component that we use to enable the transition to better leveraging of AI technology is a network of innovation hubs across Egypt in all governorates of Egypt. And each hub is actually operated by a private sector. We don't see government as the best candidate to really run and operate an innovation hub. So we do it whether with domestic or even international private sector player that they run and they operate the innovation hub, fulfilling the AI strategy that we have in mind through an integrated set of services that they provide to other private sector players, of course, with focus on startups and SMEs. So we have like 4 dimensions that we like to help the private sector to be able to leverage AI, whether enabling environment about regulations and policies and so on, and access to finance, access to talent, and last but not least, of course, access to market. So what we do, we align with the let me say, the large corporate multinational players that we have in Egypt to coach and mentor startups and SMEs along the 4 dimensions. So for example, for a dimension like access to finance, we co-fund AI R&D activity through a program that we call ITAC, which is IT Academic Collaboration. So we foster collaboration between corporate and academia, taking advantage of AI. And of course, the rest of the known like set of programs and services, like running Jobathon to avail talent. We have a program that we call it Qualify for Employment, or Q4E, where we really co-fund AI qualification for new hires within the private sector. So that we can, as I mentioned, for the dimension of access to talent, they can really find the talent that they support their transition. One thing that we are currently doing, which is very important as well, is to fine-tune, as you know, like the importance of large language models. So we fine-tune large language models to suit top priorities, industries, and scenarios in Egypt that's very much related to our like GDP and economic growth. So for a sector like agriculture in Egypt, it's very important that you fine tune until we have our own resources to be able to develop a large language model. We use open source large language models, and we fine tune them so that workers and private sector players within the agriculture sector can take advantage of large language model localized to suit the Egyptian need. So it's a set of integrated services that we do across the 4 dimensions so that at the end we have AI and data capability within startups and SMEs in Egypt.
And Shasta, how important are private sector partnerships for the Indian government in leveraging AI for youth employment? How can such partnerships be fostered?
Well, our Honorable Prime Minister has given us a clarion call to make India a developed nation by 2047, which is the 100th anniversary of our independence. We are right now 5th largest economy in the world, and we're looking up to reaching out to 2nd and 3rd by 2047. Currently, our median age is 28, and which makes us the youngest nation in the world. Well, with this demographic dividend, which I'm talking about, it implies that how the unique opportunities can be created, which could be for the prosperous society and enabling every Indian to have realize it through profession. To bring this vision to a reality, it's important that government and private sector collaborate together. And it is important that the problems and the use cases which is already solved to be picked up and then build synergies on top of it. In India, we are working very closely with the industries, academias, and the rest of the partners, wherein we could, the technocrats and the technology partners, that how do we bring the solutions which are already built, and how do we synergize together and build a robust solutions on top of it. Solutions to have open AI based, open API based solutions so that the community can develop on top of it. How do we bring the digital learning initiatives which is already available in the ecosystem, and how can that be stitched together so that people can utilize the digital learning more and more using the the national platforms. So I think it is important that how government and private industry comes together, build solutions together, leverage and provide opportunities so that the bits and pieces which is being solved by each of the respective partners can collaborate, and they can build a larger landscape to do the national building exercise. And yes, as we speak, we are collaborating with a lot of OEMs, a lot of industry partners, so that their digital content, their digital learning practices, etc., can be made available so that it can be utilized at a larger scale. So we are working together, collaborating together, so that the nation building exercise can happen at a much faster pace.
So public-private sector partnerships are clearly key and can be mutually beneficial. Now, Claire, you have your finger on the pulse. You're watching the market. Have you any insights on what the future holds? What should governments and the private sector alike be looking out for in terms of trends or opportunities related to generative AI and the future of education, skills development, and youth employment?
Definitely. I think a lot of the speakers I share this panel with have pointed to a lot of different initiatives they are working on that kind of straddle this public-private partnership. And they touch on a lot of, I think, similar themes around the idea that now education can move from a one-size-fits-all factory model to a one-size-fits-one student personalized model. And so very exciting to see how that translates in a classroom setting, in a self-studying setting, in a lifelong learning setting, where every single learner will have a co-pilot, or every single learner and professional have a co-pilot in navigating their learning or in navigating their work. And so what I mean by this is we're seeing a lot of platforms build hyper-personalized AI tutors. So not just generic like ChatGPT, help me answer this question, but rather ones that plug into your existing learning materials, they plug into your school LMSs, they plug into your university system so that they know exactly where the student is. They have context on what classes the student has taken, what topics they've struggled with. And these AI models can basically build a contextual understanding of that child as a learner. And so this idea that you not only have a learning companion that can help you get unstuck, but also help you identify this is where you can get the best materials for XYZ topic. This is where in the syllabus you should be digging further. So I think really exciting in the school setting, I think in the workforce setting, how that's manifesting and unfolding is this idea that every professional has a AI co-pilot. So if you look at in the legal space or the medicine space or even the teacher space, we'll take that example. This idea that in almost every sort of profession, we see a ton of time being spent on administrative work. And what would happen if we were able to free up that cognitive workload so that those workers and professionals could focus on things that matter most? And in the case of a teacher, the ability to actually focus on teaching and engaging with their students as opposed to writing up reports, grading, writing up emails to administrators. So the ability for AI to plug in on the more administrative, automated parts of their role so that for every professional, whether that's a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher, you name it, those professionals can focus on the more human aspects of their work and allow AI to do things that historically have been repetitive. So that's really exciting. I think another really exciting trend beyond just automation itself is the ability to actually now scale expertise and knowledge in a one-to-one format. And so we've seen a lot of platforms tackle this idea of a second brain. And what that means is in the kind of personal space, you've got companies like Mem, which is backed by OpenAI, or a company called Glean, which is serving enterprises, the ability to collect information and build a contextual hub that anyone can tap into, whether that's a personal replication of my knowledge and all the insights that I have, or an enterprise being able to build a hyper-personalized second brain that any employee can tap into. And so we've also seen this in a company, for example, called Chiron Learning, that is actually scaling teachers and experts in a one-to-one format. They basically are able to have in any learning setting, a teacher teach, and then every learner or student goes back and is able to talk to an AI version of that same teacher using replicated voice as well as their learning style. So I think a lot of really interesting stuff, everything from the actual personalization front to using it to actually increase productivity, as well as this idea of being able to scale learning and expertise.
We have time for a question from our audience. So very quickly, Jacob Cohn here, who's COO of Bandhu, which is an AI-led tech platform in India, which connects blue-collar workers to jobs and housing. He asks, how is AI not just enabling skilling, but also opening new economic financial opportunities for those who currently have historically faced huge technology or literacy barriers? Claire, would you like to take that, or anyone else?
Yeah, I think a really interesting thing that is people often, I mean, most people are aware that AI has resulted in massive productivity gains. So, for example, a study between BCG and Wharton, they looked at consultants using GPT-4, and most of them saw gains in how quickly they completed tasks and higher quality results. But I think the interesting thing was that AI is actually more a skill leveler. So when they looked at the people who were performing the worst prior to using GPT-4, they actually saw the biggest jump in performance from the low-level performers. And even though high-performing workers got a little bit of a boost, the biggest jump was about a 40% jump from the lowest performing workers. So I think really thinking of AI as human assistance, as another panelist mentioned, but really as a skill leveler that equals the playing field. And so I think there's now that ability. I think it's really exciting to now see the fact that, especially as we think about our global economy, with English being the main language that people operate in, this idea that you can have language assistants. And so if you're not confident with writing an email, you can still use AI assistants to help you professionalize an email and still succeed in the workplace. And so we no longer have to tackle some of the kind of historical struggles we've had with people, not necessarily reaching that last mile of proficiency or learning business English. They can now have an AI assist them in that journey, so that they can co-work alongside that to get to their goals. And so I do think with AI, you'll see the low level or the lowest performers are able to see the biggest gains. And in that sense, I think it's really exciting that there are no longer traditional barriers that we've seen to education and opportunity and jobs.
Claire, thank you very much. There is still so much to talk about, but we do have to wrap up our conversation. Thank you all very much for that enlightening conversation. Many ideas and initiatives shared. We're seeing rapid changes with the advent of AI. As we heard, generative AI has the potential to democratize education through AI tutors, helping skill more young people. It can now already help augment some jobs for greater productivity and performance. And yes, some jobs are being disrupted and could perhaps eventually be replaced by AI, but new and better ones can be created. Now, clearly, where there's the will, with responsible development and usage, with proper training and skilling, and through vital partnerships between the private and public sectors, generative AI holds tremendous potential to generate employment opportunities for young people. Many thanks once again to our fantastic panel for sharing all your different perspectives and expertise with us. I hope you, our audience, are feeling encouraged and inspired by what you've heard. Throughout the summit, you can keep posting any questions or comments you might have about this session on Slido. Our team will do their best to respond to them all. Do stay tuned. Coming up next, find out how AI-enabled or an online gig economy work is creating new employment opportunities, including for youth. To watch that session, you just have to go back to the agenda page and click on that session link. Thank you very much for joining us. From me, it's goodbye for now.